What's up? Let us hear it. Host JJ Raya here, and we're back with the normal crew. I got Leak right here to my right, Marcus in front, Juice in front, and Frex to my left. In today's video, we're gonna be talking about Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars. So there's a lot of hype going around the Jaguars. You know, they kind of surprised everyone, and they won the division last season. Coming off a Week 18 win against the Tennessee Titans, or Week 17, whichever one it was. But you know, now that they have Calvin Ridley, you know, he served his full-time suspension last season for gambling, so he's back in action. And these clips that we're seeing of him in training camp is looking like he didn't even lose a step. So you know, now that they have Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk had a breakout year. You know, they're expecting Trevor Lawrence to even have a better year than he did last season. So, Frex, I'm going to start with you. You know, first video back, and you're also a big Trevor Lawrence fan. What are your thoughts on Trevor Lawrence going into the season, and do you think he can be a sneaky MVP?
Yeah, so I think he definitely can be a sneaky MVP. I know, kind of going off what you said, he got Calvin Ridley, and yeah, he had a year away, but it's not like it was for any injury. It was for other reasons that we all know. And I think with the chemistry that he had with Christian Kirk last year, now adding a very great offensive threat in Calvin Ridley, I think the offense is very on top. And he's going into a second year now. Doug Peterson, who clearly, I mean, like about a year ago today probably, we were having this conversation where, like, do we think Trevor Lawrence needs to have this, like, big year to prove to, like, his doubters? And I think we all said yes, and he did. And I think that just shows how much of an impact Doug Peterson had on his growth. And now he's going into another offseason, another full year with Doug Peterson as quarterback. I think it's only going to be up from there. And I think with Zay Jones, Calvin Ridley, and Christian Kirk, and Evan Ingram, I mean, that's a great, like, pass-catching offense alone right there. Then you got ETN in the backfield. We all know he's a pass-catching running back as well. I mean, I think he's for sure can win MVP. I know Vegas has his odds right now like 16-1, I believe. And I think that's great value for a guy like Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and, like, you know, if he performs at, like, you know, a high level, and of course, you know, they're the favorites to win the division, but if he can, like, really, like, have like a 12-win season and put up really good numbers, then those MVP odds may really shift towards him, not as the favorite, but, you know, much better than what they are now. So, like you said, you know, the value that he's at right now is it is pretty nice.
And I know technically, like, MVP doesn't really have anything to do with the playoffs, but, like, I feel like if he can go in there and win a game or two, I feel like that would definitely, like, have some sway on the voters in his favor. But which I think they can. I mean, they won last year. You know, they had a very bad first half.
Yeah, and that game against the Chiefs, I know Mahomes, you know, was dealing with his ankle injury, but they weren't even, you know, out of that game for real. I can't remember how much they lost by, but I believe it was by 7. Yeah. So you know, a lot of people were expecting that playoff game to be Chiefs, you know, by 2 scores or more. You know, I was expecting that myself, but like I said, that Mahomes' injury, you know, probably did play a factor. But still, for Trevor Lawrence to go in there into Arrowhead, that being his second playoff start, you know, and to perform the way that he did and just lead that team the way that he did, you know, it's pretty impressive. So, Leak, I'm going to go to you. What are your thoughts on Trevor Lawrence going into the season?
I'm expecting a big year. Last year, I remember I said he was going to throw for 4,500. He was a little short. Now I think it's that season where he can get 45 and more. I do think he's a sneaky MVP. They got like the 12th easiest schedule in the NFL right now, and that I feel like winning games is a big reason on why why voters sway towards players. Just look at the past MVP winners; they all had like pretty high number of wins, pretty much winning the AFC. And I feel like they can. I'm not saying they will, but they have about 10 easy games. Pretty much that I think they're gonna win. Then they got games like the Bengals, the Chiefs, the Eagles, Bills. That's just like up in the air. Might not go their way, but I feel like they can pull away and win like a couple of those games.
Yeah, and I feel like if Trevor Lawrence is able to, if he could beat Mahomes, if he could beat Allen, if he could beat Burrow, that's really big when it comes to MVP voting. I'm not saying that, he's gonna beat all of them because obviously, the Bills, Chiefs, and Bengals, like they're a great team.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a battle for sure. But like, if he can sneak out, because I know he also plays Lamar, so if he could go like 3-1 against those guys, man,
it's gonna be hard to root against him.
Yeah, and that's gonna be great for them in the AFC playoff race as well because they're beating these top teams and they're just moving up in the seeding. So now, Juice, I go to you. What are your thoughts on the Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence going into the season?
I think it's gonna be big for him. He got a good system around him. Christian Kirk had like a good season. I had doubts about Christian Kirk. I didn't know he was gonna do that.
Yeah, especially when he got that amount of money. Yeah.
He had a good year. Then Evan Ingram came out of nowhere later in the season. Zay Jones was doing stuff. Then they got Calvin Ridley, steal. So I think it's only up from here. I think he's gonna go crazy and really start to show
Yeah, and you had mentioned how Ridley was a steal. I believe the highest pick that they gave was a third rounder, and it's like if they were trading him for that value, like just imagine like the different amount of teams that he could have been on. Like what if the Bills would have called about Ridley? Like
anybody.
But yeah, Ridley for a third round was a steal, especially like you said, Frex. He's not coming off an injury. He's just because of a gambling situation that he shouldn't even have gotten a year for.
Yeah. And I mean, like, look at the quarterbacks Calvin really had in Atlanta. I mean, he's had Matt Ryan, but like that's washed up Matt Ryan towards the end of his career. Now you got a quarterback who's coming into his prime. Like, I mean, like, we're really gonna see like a new. I mean, like, I know people use this like comparisons a lot in the NFL with like all these quarterbacks getting like their star receiver in their third year or whatever.
Yeah.
I know like Field just got DJ Moore, Allen got Diggs, Hurts got AJ Brown. Like now we got Trevor Lawrence getting Calvin Ridley. So I mean, you never really know. Like it's just see.
Yeah, for sure. Mark.
TLaw. Hey, TLaw pushing out 4,500 yards this year.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like he could be a sneaky MVP with the performance we seen he had last season, but from his rookie year, from throwing like then 20 interceptions to not even 10 the year before. So shows a whole lot of improvements. How keys that he got added to the team changed his performance and stuff. So now you just added more threats to his team. It's gonna bring the dog out of him. He got a nice running back, ETN, and who's that dude?
Bigsby.
Yeah, Tank Bigsby. Yeah,
Tank Bigsby. Yeah, so I feel my man's MVP. He got a little Patrick Mahomes in him. Loki got a little Patrick Mahomes in him.
Yeah. My thoughts on TLaw. I'm with all you guys. I feel like he's definitely a sneaky MVP. But like I said, if he can really take out those AFC quarterbacks and at least go 3-1 against them, it's really gonna help out his chances to become an MVP. But do you guys feel that this Jaguars team could be potentially the number one seed in all across the AFC? Because Leak, you mentioned how they have the 12th easiest schedule.
It's possible.
Their key games, they got the Bills, the Chiefs, the Bengals, 49ers, Ravens. Those are pretty much their hardest games, and that's only 5 games right there across a 17-game season. So I would say they're still, like, if they were to lose all those 5 games, and, Leak said how they have, 10 pretty much gimmies, they could sweep the AFC South. That's a 12-5 season right there. But, I don't expect them to lose all 5 of those games. But
4. They ain't got to worry about the Bills.
They got to worry about the Bills, trust.
Josh Allen owned Josh Allen last year, bro. Not worried about that.
But, yeah, question to the table. Do you guys think that the Jaguars could potentially be the number one seed in the AFC?
I mean, I think they can. I mean, we know what the coach Doug Peterson is. I know I kind of talked on it earlier, but like, I mean, he's a Super Bowl winning coach. He knows what he knows what a team has to be done, like what needs to be done in a team to be a number one team in the division. And I mean, I think it's all going to come down to like the games, like you said. I mean, like if you were looking at or just earlier off the name, I mean, the Niners, Bengals, Chiefs, and Bills, is it, and Ravens? Like, I mean, like if you look at those, I mean, it's like, damn, they got a rough schedule. But then if you look at the others, it's like they're in a pretty easy division. I mean, they don't really have much comp. Like, I mean, they've been rebuilding for years now. I mean, Colts kind of took a dive, but
Can't tell.
I think Colts and Titans are the most comp in the division,
for
but like
sure.
the Colts are also like they can definitely snag one, I guess.
Yeah.
What?
They can
They,
get one off.
they
though.
usually always go.
Y'all talking
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. They could. Yeah, they usually always split.
Because when you look at like something like that, you got to look at history. Like we was talking about with the Patriots, how you said they haven't lost to the Jets. Yeah, they haven't lost
since
yeah.
2015.
Yeah, it's just like history always seems to repeat itself, even when teams don't even look good. I feel like the Colts probably can.
And just like 2 seasons ago, Jaguars team was freaking awful, and the Colts lose to them in Jacksonville. You know, they haven't won there in I forgot how long, but it's been a long ass
I
time.
mean, it's still football. At the end of the year, you're always gonna have those like upsets and like.
Yeah.
I mean, every time it's still like NFL caliber players.
We seen a
Like-
bum ass Colts beat the Chiefs last year, bro. What? Come on, bro.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, just last season, like talking about this Jaguars team, like no one was expecting them to win this division, but like Frank said, it's football, so you know they went from third to last to first place, so we all talked about how Calvin Ridley came over to this Jaguars team. What are your guys' predictions for Calvin Ridley going into the season?
I
know-
don't
you
see
good.
Calvin having a better year than he had in Atlanta at 1,300 a year, just
Yeah.
because of the weapons. There's a lot of mouths to feed in Jacksonville.
Yeah, definitely.
A lot of mouths.
I feel you. I feel you.
I was gonna say that too. I think like Trevor Lawrence and Christian Kirk already have that like 1-2 chemistry already. 'Cause they've been, I mean, we've seen what they did last year, so it's gonna be hard to like just strictly favor Calvin Ridley, especially when it's first year. You know, coming off like, I mean, yeah, he's been out for a year, but it's like that's still a year without NFL football. And you kind of have to get back in the groove of things. I mean, you could play
But it's a year for him
preseason
to get
and
better.
training camp all you want, but like it's still you got to get back in the groove of things. And like you said, there's a lot of mouths to feed, and Trevor Lawrence doesn't really seem like that kind of guy to just dish it off to one guy every single time. And
Yeah, for sure.
so, I mean, I think he's gonna get maybe 1,100, but I don't think much more than
Yeah,
that.
I said
That's what I'm saying
1100.
too.
I don't even got to
85,
I don't got to
90
touch 1,000.
receptions.
I had,
You got
like 60.
I had 975.
Like right under. I'm seeing a lot of people saying that he's not going to hit 1,000. I think it's crazy to see.
That's wild.
I think it's crazy to see.
Because
I got him finishing.
didn't Kirk just have 1,000
Yeah,
yards?
1,100.
Yeah. If Kirk is doing that as their number one, really is definitely about to do that as their number one.
Yeah, and he had like 90
I
receptions.
mean, but you still got Kirk there, though.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but like, really still he's the number one receiver. He's gonna be the number one by week 7, week 8. You're really gonna see Calvin really become the number one receiver.
Yeah.
It's probably only gonna take a few games for TLaw and really to build that chemistry.
The man Zay Jones had 823 yards.
Evan
Yeah.
Ingram had what, like 700 something?
Yeah, bro. It's happening, bro.
Yeah. How many
So-
yards did TLaw throw for last season?
43.
41, 42,
41,
Yeah, 40. Yeah.
Over 40.
Yeah, I know it was over 4.
Yeah, he's definitely gonna throw for like 45.
Zay Jones getting
41.
820 yards.
41.
And he's using his weapons. Yeah, I mean, this is another weapon. I don't know. I just said he's not touching 1,000 because he only touched 1,000 once in Atlanta.
Yeah, that is
One
true.
time.
That is true, and that was
1,300.
his 3rd year.
Was Julio gone and got hurt?
No, Julio was there. Actually, I don't know.
I think he was.
Pretty sure
I think he was
Yeah,
just off and on.
It
Jared.
was
You had him in
2020. It was 2020.
Yeah, he was-
Was Julio on the Titans at that time? Yeah, right.
No.
Nah.
It was 2021.
I had
he was
him.
on
I
the
had him. Yeah.
Julio went to the Titans in 21.
No. That was last year.
So 2020 was his last year.
That was the last of the Falcons.
Yeah.
That he was just off and on.
Yeah, and that was Ridley's breakout year. Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
You had him in fantasy.
Yeah. I have him going for 1,200 yards. I have him being, like probably like 75 to 90 catches. I know you guys mentioned how there's a lot of weapons to feed, but I really feel like Ridley's gonna be that receiver that gets 11, 12 targets a game. We see Kirk Cousins feeding Jay Jettis 15 times a game. I feel like when those times get hard, when the offense is really not moving, TLaw's gonna start to feed it his number one receiver, and I feel like those are the games we're gonna see Calvin Ridley touch 100 yards, touch 120 plus. Calvin Ridley to me is kind of like CeeDee Lamb. For how explosive they are. Calvin Ridley I would say is a better route runner, but what those guys can do. After the catch, I feel like Calvin Ridley is very underrated in that aspect, especially because we haven't seen him for a whole year. So I feel like Ridley's gonna have a really good season. I got him like 1,200 yards, like I said. And Frex, you had mentioned his touchdown number. I have him like 7-8 touchdowns as well. So now to finish this video off, what would you? Because later on we're gonna get into our top 5 quarterbacks going into the season. Without saying the quarterbacks that you guys have of ahead of TLaw, where would you rank him number wise going into the season?
I feel like we all can agree. Like
8.
I got him 8.
I had 8, and I think there's a quarterback that I'll mention in the next video when we come back to this that I think he can definitely take the leap over after this year, depending on how both of them do. So, I mean, maybe can you jump to 6 or 7, depending on how the one player plays.
Yeah, I got him.
Top 5.
I feel like going. I feel like at the end of the season, I feel like TLaw could definitely be top 5. At the end of the season, I feel like TLaw could be top 5.
I feel like
What do you guys think he has to do to put himself top 5?
I ain't gonna lie, just repeat what he did last year.
Nah, he got to do more.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like he got to win those games that we was talking about. He got to win at least
definitely.
2 or 3 of those games.
Uh-huh.
Those big games that he got to make it to at least the second round of the playoffs. And I feel like he might have to get top 5. I feel like he got to get up there in like the 4,800 yards range.
He needs to go to
With like
AFC
35
championship
plus
or something
touchdowns.
like that, bro.
AFC Championship.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm not gonna say
Bro,
all
what?
I
that.
don't know.
Justin Herbert not getting there.
Yeah,
Herbo could get there.
he can.
Yeah, Herbo could get there. His team is just never healthy. But
I just feel like he's got to show us that he can win those
Yeah.
up in the air games against teams that might be better.
I think like instead of having to make the AFC Championship, I kind of agree with you said. He has to go at least 3-1 against those big teams because those are teams you're gonna be playing in the
Yeah, in the
championship.
playoffs,
So it's
yeah.
like,
yeah.
and yeah, we know playoffs is a different breed and all that. But if you're going against those 4 or 5 teams and you could win 75% of them, I think you have the respect of the public to
For
be
sure.
considered top 5.
For sure. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. Let us know in the comments what your thoughts are on Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars going into this season. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. Continue to share the channel as much as you can. That's going to do it.